Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Matshe, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Diversity Connector. This is Gertrude Matshe here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Welcome. My name is Adriane Hartigan-von Strauch. Nowadays, I have a bit of a rebranding happening, calling myself Adriane Venus. There's a whole story to it, why I do that and want to do that, making the world aware how my relationship to Venus actually developed. First of all, I'm born on the 11th of May, so on the sign of Taurus, in a beautiful spring morning in Munich, Bavaria. And it was a very interesting morning because actually just an hour before I was born, my heart stopped beating and I was actually physically not alive anymore in the body of my mother. So they managed to get me back into heartbeats mode and I stayed alive. So my mom always said, she's an angel. She's our angel. She is born to be an angel. And my childhood carried a lot of mystical elements. I grew up in the countryside in an environment that was actually very raw and real and very down to earth. But my parents being artists, musician, my mom was an opera singer, my father was a conductor and a very, very dedicated musician professionally. So the whole world of music, arts, and lively creativity, surrounded me with very, very artistic, grandparents and extended family. But later I decided to not step into the same footsteps. So I became very interested first in dancing, contemporary dancing, and later I entered the film industry in Germany. So I became very early, with 18, 19, an apprentice in the Bavaria Film Studios, made a huge appearance in quite a few shows and programs. And by 28, I was so successful in my job that I actually was an editor in my first 2 or 3 feature films I was involved in. As an editor, I won a big film award in Germany, which gave me cash. And this cash paid my ticket to New Zealand and to Australia, which was really interesting because I wanted to see other parts of the world. So I ended up in New Zealand after a long journey of discovery, where I could settle in a way that it would give me a renewal or something I could experience outside my very successful scope I had already developed in my 20s. Not knowing that my life in New Zealand was almost like the invertendo of what I had in Germany, and being very public, successful, earning good money. Here I became a mom. I lived very, very modestly. I became very interested in the healing arts. So I did a lot of spiritual followings and work and ended up becoming a healer and a health practitioner and a health professional. 10 years down the track, I did so many other things. I studied on Auckland University and became a business woman related to arts and other creative sides. And last not least, after many discoveries, I became a love coach in around 2010, 2011. By then, having entered my third long-term relationship in New Zealand with 2 more children, and really the aim and the desire to make relationships work. I was really conditioned to think that, once you marry, you have kids, and then it stays all relatively easy, and then you have a marriage crisis. And my parents stayed together, so there wasn't ever the real discussion about divorces or splitting up or something. But my life turned out to be very different. So I have 4 children with 3 fathers over a time period of 21 years, which changed my perspective very big about family and getting together as blended family. I had to learn also to love stepchildren equally, loving like my children. So the whole territory of loving and relationship and really bonding on a soul level became more and more and more a real big theme for me. And I discovered being, not just I explained, I'm a Taurus, but I have by nature a very lively, relationship to intimacy, to love, to these themes always fascinated me. So my astrology is very much showing that I have a huge interest and purpose in not just living relationships fully, but also learning about them and helping others to have better relationships. Now, having worked in film, being a health practitioner, I worked a lot with cancer patients. When I did Jin-Jin-Jitsu, I brought a healing art with the name Jin-Jin-Jitsu to New Zealand and Australia. And I was actually known as a healer for a long time. Then I founded a holistic business network New Zealand 2006. So I had done some sort of few career choices that were always about helping others, but never really about making money. So for me, New Zealand is more a place of discovery, of spirituality. I learned that I was a Maori girl in my previous life, and I had really found then my grave and the places I had been lived earlier in the 20th century, in between 1900 and 1918. But I know I need to speed on now because it's really only a few minutes. I have to share my story. My story really developed to become very, very interesting. And you listeners, most of you are females over 50. I mean, just above 50 in age of around 54, 55. I was actually diagnosed with ovarian cancer. It was 2016, and it was a phase where I was on one level really, really happy about my life, and I thought I had found things that were really purposeful and meaningful to me. But I could see in my appearance that something was not right. And when I finally was diagnosed, through bizarre circumstances, really discovered in a check that was meant to be for something else, I actually made a decision I would not go the conventional way. I would look for alternative ways to heal this cancer. So I actually ended up in Bali finding therapy forms and healers who helped me to very gradually release first of all, my tumor. And then second stage was getting the cancer out of my body, which took me another 2 years. I had massive support in New Zealand. I had very good professionals there. I had help from America, from Europe. So my husband then decided to support me in the journey of healing naturally. But at the same time, he was not as happy in the marriage anymore. He was very scared or seeing me ill and potentially not surviving. So he made a call to leave our marriage. So, 2016, 17 years where all my 3 teenage or adolescent children left the home, our family home in Auckland and Devonport became dissolved. I was almost told that I had to make a decision where I wanted to live. And also my business, my love coach business, which I had founded 2011, and which became a company in 2013. And I became New Zealand's love coach. I mean, I was on television, I was interviewed, I was doing articles for media releases. I was really recognized as, oh, here is a lady who has the courage to speak about love. What is a love coach? So yeah, I had always to answer this question so intimately, and a lot of people perceived it to be something different, and I had to educate people that it really was mainly about people finding relationship healing and finding relationship manifesting in a very, very, very authentic way. Essentially, my healing journey through my cancer and becoming the healer, the coach, the writer, the filmmaker, the person I am went really, really, really parallel. And I think this is the essence of who I am today. I'm still in a way integrating the experience. It's only 7 years ago. So it's a journey, when you see your life changing so much. And then I decided to live more here than there. So that's how I'm ended up being more in Bali than in New Zealand and Germany. Yes.
What an incredible story. You and I could have bumped into each other in New Zealand at that time. It's so funny that the universe kind of connects you with people. And now we're meeting through the internet, and you're living in Bali, my most favorite place in the world. So let's delve a little bit into a number of issues with regards to your life. Can you share how your diverse background in film editing, natural health, spiritual coaching has shaped your approach to relationship healing and intimacy design?
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree that I perceive myself being a real entrepreneur and a real pioneer in what I'm doing, from a perspective that I started with the spiritual healing around relationships well before I knew how to communicate relationships well. So I did a lot of spiritual training. I meditate since 44 years. So I was lucky that the spiritual masters and teachers coming in my existence were all very heart-based and soul-based teachers. So I did 27 years. I taught at the end a meditation styles called nowadays heartfulness. Is actually becoming very big in the world. Heartfulness was then Sahaj Marg with a master. I met when I was 17 years old. There's already the third or fourth successor since I started 45 years ago. So it was really always my journey to be connected to a spiritual path and to think about karma and cause and effect and things like that. The second big relationship then developed to the idea of communication, because my husband, I was related to for 13 years, Adriane Hartigan, is very known in New Zealand as a coach and as a business coach and as also as a speaker. And communication was just number one, and that was why I wanted to succeed in relationships. So the skills around relating in this more day-by-day communicating way came many years later in my practice. And then I met, during COVID, John Gray. I was invited to meet him in a very small group of people. We spent 4 hours on Zoom together, and he said, at the end, some of you are amazing people. If you ever think you don't need to become a Mars Venus coach, but look what Mars Venus offers you as learning additionally to what you already do in your practices. And I applied. I put the hand up, and I was within days, after 10 minutes conversation, invited to study with John Gray. Nowadays, I interview him. I have a very dear relationship, I think, as a coach and as a promoter and as a storyteller with him. I love his spiritual side. I'm one of the very few interviewees and interviewers in his realm who really bring the spiritual and the astrological and vibrational side of Mars Venus out. We actually published a book together. It's called Love and Coaching. And my chapter is all about heaven on earth. It's all about frequencies you bring into living. And that's me, you know, and he some sort of feels quite intrigued by my questions because they're always different than other people asking him questions. And recently I interviewed him on enlightened sex, which was never a theme John Gray really talked about. You know, he loves talking about sex, but, you know, the spiritual side of sex and Mars Venus. So I'm really, and then my relationship with Dr. Bruce Lipton is something which is so dear to me. He and his wife are just really lovely friends in New Zealand. He lives in New Zealand very, very, you know, it's his second home. He lives there very, very happily. And the access to these resources to meet, and you will agree with me, New Zealand has this magic that sometimes you meet people there you would not meet anywhere else on the world, even so you know them
Everywhere
from
else in
other
the
areas.
world.
But there you can meet them. Another South African teacher, she passed away, Shakti Malan. So that was very, I want to really mention her because she bridged the relationship coaching with the sacred sexuality and the female healing work. She was very instrumental. She gave me a scholarship while I was ill, and she passed away on her own breast cancer. She got sick again after being better for a while, but she passed very suddenly. And so I have seen beautiful people in my life teaching me lessons and guiding me for particular periods of time. And then I find new teachers, and that seems to be my karma, that I attract these people like you right now. I mean, I'm so grateful meeting you, Gertrude. So
This is
thank you.
wonderful. Now, the reason why I created this podcast was because of my personal experience with love. So I was married for 27 years. It was a 31-year relationship that went wrong in 2015. I ended up going through a very traumatic separation that led to divorce at the age of 49. And I decided to tell my story as a way to inspire another woman who will find herself having to start life all over again. And love and relationships can be very, very challenging. I am on an eternal quest to find my person. So, in your extensive experience, what are some of the common challenges that people face in relationships today? And how do you guide them in overcoming these issues?
I think both genders, and I mean now the word gender is much, much more important for me since I work with John Gray the last 3 or 4 years than ever before, you know. But I say this consciously. I heard this morning something else by another coach that really intrigued me. And she said, women, you know, they are affected by, you know, the masculine not growing and changing. But men are not affected by women not changing, because men have in their genetics and in their wiring such a purposeful and you know, all encompassing, you know, focus on things that are externally interesting to them. They see women, you know, they want to have a woman physically, whereby we have all this feeling about wanting to feel something. They wanted just to see it, touch it, and have it, you know, like a car or like a house, you know. We see this so much more emotionally intertwined. And this makes the whole thing for us women, particularly in our age, when we see our children leaving house and we are suddenly realizing that our professional opportunities, you know, change to different, you know, priorities, let's say, you know. We also deal differently with life and with problems, and it's just much harder. And I would say to any woman, and also to every man, you know, start with yourself to really know what you want to experience. I mean, when I start working with someone, it's always this big question, okay, not who are you. The identity thing comes much later. It's, where are you
Right.
at? What do you want in this very moment? And have you really assessed what your deeper needs are? And it's very
Yeah.
fascinating to learn how many people don't understand the difference between wants and needs. And for me,
Yes.
working in the internal wiring of needs, really, and I have people who are saying, this is egocentric to have needs, or this sounds like needy, or no, we're not talking about neediness. We're talking about something essentially required to feel, whole and healthy and good and valued. And I think working on these internal wirings, and then through these individuals, my spiritual work brings me to the quantum intimacy process I developed, comes from a school of oneness where you go through 4 or 7 what we call cauldrons or baskets. It starts with particular time frames, your conception, your time of pregnancy, you before you are born. I died in the womb of my mother before being given birth and being alive. So this cauldron of my passing, and not passing, but the possibility of me not physically surviving, shaped me being a big transition person. This is the cauldron for change and accepting change and dealing with change in life. So I'm a change
Right.
agent. When you ask me what kind of coach are you, I'm a change. My clients are lovers in transit. I call them always, you have one long haul flight and another long haul flight. And here you sit in transit, you sit in the waiting room, like you just described. Sitting here with my little suitcase, ready to enter another plane. Where's the man I can enter the plane with? And unfortunately, sometimes the transits take a little longer, or you just realize, oh, the plane is gone, but I'm so happy here in my transit room that I don't even want to go anywhere else anymore. That happiness, that content, that feeling good about yourself is an art that we women, believe need to embrace, and not thinking less of us when we are not with somebody. And I say this really not because I have mastered it. I tell you, even just last night, I had a moment where I said to my brother, I just had a friend from Germany here who really is close now since 30 years. And life is so much more beautiful when you have a beautiful friend in your company than being by yourself. And I really crave that, but it is not
Yeah.
given always as an opportunity as fast. And I don't know. So let's see what happens for all of us, Gertrude. I'm single myself at the moment. And I would love to really manifest a relation. And I meet men, but it's not matching, because it's exactly that I look for a level of profound meeting that in many men's eyes in our age group is not what they need anymore, want anymore.
Love
They
it.
want different things.
Delve into those two concepts of wants and needs. Give us a clear definition and examples of the difference
Okay,
between the two.
it's actually quite simple. This is a little bit like you know, the 6. I have a beautiful diagram which looks a little bit like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, but
Yeah.
if you would take this pyramid and this triad, and you would say on one side security and safety, and then on the other side you would say something like adventure and so the reality is that what we want and need splits itself between the internal and the external. I
Right.
perceive needs, that's my perception. I had a lot of discussions with people who try to challenge me as their coach, because they really want to get the head around, but I usually see it what really is internally important, and seeing women and men suddenly acknowledging that when they open up to a man, that they need to feel safe. That is not something that comes easily. I want to feel safe. An intelligent woman might say that because she has the experience. Or when we open up intimately sexually, that we want to feel safety. Or a man saying, I want to be listened to. How many men are really, really saying I have a need for being listened to and acknowledged and respected for who I am. How many women override that need in men? And we women
Yeah.
make so many mistakes. And I
Yeah.
really want to take the opportunity here that, and I'm not being harsh here, but we women have sometimes this belief that we are always right, and men are this. And I have coached many, many men who are very vulnerable about the fact that they have been hurt and almost, damaged, or really, really went out of very difficult situations with their partner because a need level wasn't fulfilled. Ones are about, and I give you another little secret at the top of it, because once, as say again, you go on a date and you discuss what you could do together in the next date, and your date is saying, oh, I want to take you to this car show, and we can look at all these wonderful Maseratis, and you're saying, I actually much more want to date on the beach with a picnic and a bottle of wine, and and then you have two wants, and both want the same. They want to spend quality time, they want to get to know each other, but that particular level, there are different values. And then you need to begin to negotiate, okay? So in my world of coaching, every external line wants is negotiable. Do we eat Thai? Do we eat Indian? Do we go to the theater tomorrow, or do we go Sunday? Do we drive to Wellington for doing this, or would we go shopping in Lower Hutt? These are simple things you negotiate with your partner. And if you are good in communication, you do it well, unless you feel someone has always more right to say what they want. But the needs
Right.
is really something where you want to be not negotiable, whether I have a need for safety. When you want to go with me in this bedroom and have a particular experience, I need to know that before I do that I know you well enough so that I feel safe. That's a very classic example. And a lot of
Yes.
women and men violate their needs. They violate these boundaries. They violate these energies around their more vulnerable and subtle parts, because they're scared that if they are not agree too quickly, then they'll lose this relationship. And I have taken the risk losing a lot of relationships, and being honest, and it has done me good. I spend more time alone. I just say this, in 7 years I have met amazing men, but one thing has really not happened yet, that I found a long-lasting commitment by one man who said, I'm willing to negotiate with you on the external world, and then we'll find a way to always help each other to feel, respected in our internal worlds. And that's really the teaching I give. And when women coach with me, then I train them, and men too. I train them to be very clear and to get, so clarity is actually the first big step in coaching. And then the creative part starts, that when you know your
Yeah.
boundaries, then you get creative and you say, you want to live in Bali? No, and that is, I know I could attract a man in New Zealand, but I will not, as long I know I live more in Bali than in New Zealand. That's a very good example. And I had really men wanting to
Yeah.
come and be here with me. And I said, do this only if you really know that you're negotiable to spend more time here than in New Zealand. And it's
Yeah.
not happening,
I love
because
it.
people can't do it. Even if they would want to, it's sometimes not
Yeah.
meant to be.
My last question for you is, with your extensive credentials and experiences, what new projects or aspirations are you most excited about pursuing in the next few years?
Oh, totally. I'm already co-author of Mars Venus. Another big project we are just approaching is bringing John Gray to Bali and to Indonesia. I do want to bring him to New Zealand and Australia again. He has been years ago in Australia. So we're just some sort of negotiating with him what year, because this year is Bali and Indonesia. So hopefully next year we can do, so helping Mars Venus to widen the horizon. I want to work and collaborate more with Mars Venus coaches. But there's also a completely different side of me. The whole Venus theme, as I said, is really important. I will probably brand myself from now on. I might let the Love Coach brand go and actually call myself Venus Coach or Adriane Venus, for the simple purpose I attract at the moment a lot of women between 45 and 60, 65 who are like me in big changes in their career, in rebranding themselves, wanting to do better, wanting to include other, I coach between New Zealand, France. I have a few really lovely stories, and they're all single. Interesting enough, they have kids, tell me. So the married life being over and the career accelerating goes almost hand in hand. Almost like your story too, where something has finished, but and then I want to create a movie about relationships and love. As long the masters of our generation is still alive, as long John is still there, as long Esther Perel, as long really masters who were my mentors over the last 10, 15 years are willing to speak in front of cameras. So I want to do a big movie, and I also want to really create a place in the world. I always dream about an island with a big resort where people come and just be happy, and where couples heal, where singles heal, where there's a lot of music and artistry and lots of creative programs every day. I'm a big, I did a big degree in New Zealand being an arts administrator, so I'm trying to bring a lot of events into manifestation. And I did that always as a love coach. I did this in my holistic business years. I do it in different fashions. I organized the trainings for Jitsu for 15 years in New Zealand. So I have a big side of being the businesswoman and organizer and event manager. But then I have a very, very silent side where I very internally write and bring things into manifestation that be channeled through me. I channel a lot in the last couple of years, and that will shape my future as well. I believe that I will be known not just as a coach, but as someone who also helps people making very valuable decisions around their love lives through my ability to see and channel and help them to vision. The word visionary is really big for me. I want to look into the future and help women and men to have much happier relationships than we have seen in the last 5 to 10 years. Yes. I hope that answers a long answer to your short question.
There are so many things I want to continue talking to you about. It's just so fascinating that
even if it's just over a cup of coffee on Zoom and meeting each other again. I really appreciate you so much for this invitation and for our time together. Thank you so much.
And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is attracting some phenomenal women coming in from all over the world, sharing their inspiring stories to uplift, energize, and empower you. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening. Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Matshe, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.